So today we're looking at what the motivational role of pleasure is. First, we're going to take a look at what exactly pleasure is. Pleasure is an effect, which is the experience of emotion, emotions such as joy, passion, or euphoria. Pleasure is perceived through sensory and psychological stimuli. Sensory pleasure comes from the senses, touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. Psychological pleasure is divided into two categories, fundamental pleasure and higher order pleasure. Fundamental pleasures are those which relate to survival, such as food, sex, social standing, and relationships. Higher order pleasures are based on enjoyment particular to the individual, for example, camping, music, dancing, or reading. The brain registers pleasure via hedonic hotspots or pleasure centers. This is a result of increased dopamine receptors in this area. The strong links between addiction and substance use disorder are based upon the release of dopamine and the resulting euphoric pleasure achieved. Sigmund Freud proposed early forms of what is now known as the theory of pleasure and pain. Freud called it the unpleasure principle, which stated that behavior is dictated by the desire to achieve pleasure. This principle stated that the thirst for physical and psychological reward could be satiated by sex, food, and the quenching of thirst. These would be considered fundamental pleasures. This was the basis for the modern theory of pleasure and pain. Simply put, this states that motivation is a result of either pain avoidance or pleasure seeking. And so we come to motivation. Motivation is the drive behind our behaviors, the reason we choose the foods we eat, the people we associate with, and the things we buy. Motivators can be physical, social, emotional, or psychological. Motivation is made up of extrinsic and intrinsic motivations. Extrinsic motivations are those that are based upon external rewards, such as trophies or prizes. Intrinsic motivation is based upon personal development. These are internal motivators for the purpose of achieving personal goals and the feeling of success, rather than an external reward. So based on this, what is the motivational role of pleasure? The role of pleasure as a motivator is to sate a desire. Whether it be food, sex, hydration, hobbies, or success, the feeling of pleasure serves as motivation for our actions. As a result of the euphoric feeling associated with dopamine, pleasure is in many ways an addictive feeling and can quickly result in habits and compulsions. For example, consider comfort eating. When we enjoy this food, it gives us pleasure and makes us happy. In this way, the motivational role of pleasure is a significant factor in addiction. Understanding the role of pleasure as motivations for behavior is an important element to the development of effective and valid psychological treatment.
Created using Powtoon.